Sauce.
Hey, you late, Paz?
It looks like that. Here's Heaney from the boundary line. He's an expert at these. From the boundary line!
Hello and welcome to Behind the Boundary podcast. I'm your host, Pez. I'm here with Sauce. I'm in my dining room. Sauce, I don't know where you are. It looks like you're on the couch there with our recording gear. I've got the AirPods in, recording this remotely once again. Extended lockdown in Victoria.
Hey Pez, yeah, in my dining room, on my coffee room table, I've got the recording gear spread out across the house, hoping, fingers crossed, that the roommate, the little dog here, doesn't make a guest appearance, hoping everything's under control. But speaking of the Dogs, Pez, it was a huge week for football. The Dogs didn't turn up on Friday night football. We had a big comeback from Essendon against the West Coast Eagles. You know, some people calling it the best win of the club's history. Some saying in the best in the last or in the 21st century their best win, which is only a couple of years. So really interesting round of footy.
Yeah, it was an interesting round of footy, and it's going to be a very interesting round 12 with the buys and the changing of fixtures and things like that. And all the Melbourne teams actually out of Victoria now playing away. So we'll get into that a little bit later in the show. But to talk about that, Melbourne deserves some credit on Friday night. They had the Bulldogs all outclassed everywhere around the ground. They won nearly every single stat, and their run into the forward 50 was great, but their defence is the part that's really holding up. We keep saying, I definitely keep saying that, you know what, I don't believe them as a contender, but I don't know what point you have to look at them as a contender, but the finals footy in September, can they get it done? They will finish top 4. Can they continue their run and get that top 2 spot and maybe play some home finals at the MCG?
Yeah, hopefully we're out of lockdown for them to play. But Pez, you are right. They dominated a lot of the contest, but they built. It was a coaching sort of strategy that was really employed by the Demons that really helped them, putting numbers behind the football and not allowing the Dogs to move laterally. And we know that they like to play that little handball, little disposal, over-dispose of the football to get their pill moving. But a lot of the time the Bulldogs had nothing but to do but to bomb it long, and they just beat them. They forced them into situations that the Bulldogs are uncomfortable with, and they killed them in those contested marks. And their rebound 50s, well, not even rebound 50s half the time, the rebound off of a turnover and intercept marks really structured themselves to have a good shot at goal. And we know that when Melbourne, we know that they have a lot of inside 50s, and when they have multiple inside 50s and actually hit targets, they look very good.
Yeah, and interesting with the Melbourne in their forward line as well. So they dropped Ben Brown a few weeks ago after only playing a couple of games and still with the smaller type forward line. But Tom McDonald's been playing well. He's been presenting well. But I think one of the big moves was they put a bit of attention into Tom Liberatore, which teams don't usually do. He doesn't usually damage you coming out of the contest with his metres gained, but the way he wins the ball inside that contest and then gets it out to the runners for the Bulldogs is really important. So I think that was a big coaching move that wasn't really counteracted by Beveridge, and Melbourne ended up winning very, very comfortably. High scoring in the first half, and if you were on the overs source, you would have been loving it, over 100 points scored, and then it just missed the overs in the end. So if anyone backed the overs there, that would have been a pretty horrible watch in that second half.
Yeah, most definitely, Pez. Interesting what you said there about Liberatore, then really stopping him from getting to a lot of those contested possessions and really putting in a work to him, because he has been their prolific ball winner. Last year we had Caleb Daniels really dominating, and when we saw teams actually plan for the players that are more impactful for the Doggies and not just over-possessing the football, they can counteract it with with some really good contests and actually putting the scores away for the win.
Yeah, and what do they go to, Sauce? They're down through that. They've had 9 wins or 10 wins now, 10-1. Bulldogs take their second loss, and they're looking very strong heading into state this week. But the next game, this was rough on all ends for all supporters, not just Geelong and Collingwood supporters, but I think anyone watching this game. There's a full-time score of 61-51, but no one could kick for goal. It was really scrappy, and Collingwood didn't even kick a goal in the first half, Source, 0-7.
Yeah, it was not a great performance to start up our lockdown weekend. And they saw a really good tweet out there is that anyone that breaks the lockdown protocols over the weekend should be made to rewatch that game because it was an absolute disgrace. Not only with poor scoring, Pez, just poor use of the football. The Cats we know like to overpossess the football, but their skill level just wasn't there. They had a lot of good forward entries, but they actually were defended quite well in their forward line. They were they went to an un-Geelong like football, just having sprays at goal, and a lot of the time coming away with behind or hitting the post, or sometimes not even making the distance. So the weather conditions looked really good for football, but it seemed like there was some sort of a breeze through there that was really putting the goal scoring off. But to the credit of the Magpies, they didn't put the cue in the rack at half time when they hadn't kicked a goal. They came out in that third and fourth quarter, and they made a bit of a contest. I mean, I don't know if they ever were really in the game, and I think Geelong sort of put the cue in the rack and sort of looked ahead to get into the bye. They get some numbers back. It was just a routine win, but the Magpies did quite well in that second half after a yucky start.
Terrible. Geelong up by 28 points late in that fourth quarter, Sauce, and then within 5 minutes, Collingwood had turned around and kicked 3 goals, and they were within 10 points. So never in danger, as you said, of actually losing it. But another one, if you were backing Geelong at the line, I think it got down to minus 18.5. I was chatting to you on the Saturday. You would have been filthy with that beat of the line. So that was no good. But Geelong walk away with a win. That's all they've really got to do. Collingwood might struggle this week as well. It's a really big game over at Adelaide versus them as well. They've got some big outs that we'll speak about later on as well.
Yeah, nothing bigger than their ruckman going down there. Brodie Grundy actually, doing a little bit of an interesting sort of contest with him and Reece Stanley. He sort of jolted his neck back, pinched a nerve in his neck, and that'll be really, really tough for them coming up against the Crows this week.
Yeah, it's not going to be too good for them without Brodie Grundy, who, as we know, has been winning the hitouts, not having a massive impact, but he did have a bit of an impact on the weekend, especially in that second half when they were actually getting some scores on the board. The next game up at the Gabba, Brisbane, aren't they in form without Lachie Neale in the team? I think he comes back this week, but they just demolished GWS. It was 19 goals, 15, 129 to 10 goals, 5, 65. They ended up winning by 64 points. It could have been a lot more because I'm pretty sure they took the foot off the accelerator there, Sauce.
Yeah, it was most viewers for the Geelong Collingwood game would have turned across straight away because it was going on at the same time, Pez, and it was a very impressive opening 20 minutes. They just piled on the score. They just moved the football brilliantly. Joe Danaher, as we've spoken 3 or 4 weeks in a row, he really opens up that forward line, and it gives them such a forward structure. While he's not getting on the scoreboard, they have so many avenues to kill you, and you're right, Pez, it could have been a lot more than 64 points, which is pretty staggering for the Giants, but it just shows you how much the Lions are really coming to their own, and they're hitting form after the rough first 3 weeks of the season, having to be locked out of their own home state, having to play a game, the informed Dogs down in Bendigo or Ballarat, wherever the hell they moved that game after the lockdown. So, really hitting stride at the right time.
Yeah, and the multiple goal kickers that they could have had more. They had 4 players kick 1 goal, 1. They had 3 players kick 1 goal, 2, Sauce. 3 players kick 2 goals, and then Mitch Robinson pops up with the leading goal kicker for the game, who kicked 4 goals, 1 as well. So
as well as 30 disposals there, Pez. As well as 30 disposals, Mitch Robinson. He had 30 disposals.
Unbelievable. 24 of them kicks. Now, he did have 12 marks, so obviously GWS weren't showing the effort. He was marking them on the wing and going everywhere. He could just do whatever he wants, so he would have loved that on Saturday and would have been up and about in the song and then afterwards for a few frothies, I reckon, as well.
Yeah, what a turnaround he's done in his career from his little music festival incident 3 or 4 years ago compared to Brendan Favola, where they shipped him off to Brisbane. He's turned it around, and I know that there's other people that say that they're the barometer of the Brisbane Lions, but he really is, because when he's up and firing, the Brisbane Lions look so much better than when he's not firing, and he brings heart and soul. And yeah, the Lions are looking dangerous, and they'll be looking forward to their Friday night clash against the D's.
Yeah, well, I guess if you're a barometer of a footy club, you'd want to be playing every week. And Reece Matheson's actually been omitted this week. So self-proclaimed barometer.
Oh, pencil in the loss then.
Kind of need to keep that under the rug until you get a regular gig, I reckon, and probably let others give you the nicknames, not give it to yourself. I think he'd cop a bit of flack at training for that.
Yeah, most definitely, Pez. All right, we go on to your Saints, who recovered quite well from a 111 drubbing last week against the informed Dogs. They came up against the sort of, I guess, what's the right word to describe North Melbourne, Pez, in a nice way?
The shittest team in the club.
Yeah, well, you made them look pretty ordinary there, Pez, as well, because they made you work a lot harder for the 4 points than you probably suspected. That the Saints obviously getting it done in the overall mark things, but the North Melbourne showed some fight throughout the game.
Oh yeah, a little bit of fight. I think Ben Cunnington and his handballing skills always on song, but I think it was more. It was a horrible game to watch, Sauce. North Melbourne coming out of defence and just turning the ball over. They continually tried to kick it into the corridor, and St Kilda would just pick it off one after one and then go down and kick it behind like they usually do. So they kicked 3 goals, 6 in the first quarter, piled on 4 in the second quarter, but they also kicked 5 behind. So for the game, 12 goals, 16 points, it continues to be an issue for St Kilda. And we had all those articles during the week, Source, that Max King reached out to his high school coach. I don't know if it was a high school, but Matthew Lloyd coached him when he was in high school, and he wanted a little bit of advice, maybe a training session to help him with his goal kicking. And St Kilda actually came out and said no. So love or hate Matthew Lloyd, I don't understand why you would say no if he's offering to help someone kick a goal, because he was a beautiful set shot.
I guess the Saints are trying to say it's not a non-issue and it's a lot of mental, but since that performance against the Cats where he kicked, 0-6 was it? And, missed 3 of those in the opening quarter, his confidence definitely has definitely taken a hit. And I would be trying anything that you can to try and get his mental state in front of goal a little bit more stable, because they got the opportunities there. I mean, the Saints, had 18 scoring shots from 25 forward entries. They were dominating the contestant ball and the contestant clearances, winning that 18-9 at one stage. I don't know why you wouldn't give your premier forward and the person that you have invested a lot of money in the long term an opportunity to get better at kicking for goal, which is how you win football games, Pez.
And also St Kilda, give him an opportunity to actually take a mark inside 50 and give him a shot at goal against the worst team in the comp. Hardly kicked the ball to him. He only had 8 touches and 2 behinds. They put Josh Battle down there, who actually looked pretty good, Source, up forward. Kicked 0-3, so his kicking in front of goal was absolutely horrendous, probably worse than Max King. But yeah, it was a chance to really bury North Melbourne, and we know St Kilda, second worst percentage in the league, at 76. They've just gone above Hawthorn, so third worst in the league now, but they're really struggling there at 12th on 5 wins and only 76%.
Yeah, Pez, a win's a win, though, and it keeps your finals hope alive. Just hanging on still, you need to string some better form definitely going forward. But a team that sort of would have their eyes looking at September this year is the Suns, and, King's brother. He's definitely got the kicking boots on there. He kicks 4 against the local Hawks, Pez.
Him and our man Rankine. Rankine
the
with
X
4
Factor,
as well. How good's that? Gold Coast, this is another one where I think teams at the end, I don't know what it is, if it's mid-season fatigue or something, Source, teams could have actually buried clubs, but they took the foot off the accelerator again, and so did the Gold Coast Suns. They're sitting with only 4 wins and a costly loss to Adelaide earlier in the year, a couple of other really costly losses when they had a few injuries as well. So they could be a lot higher. They could probably actually be in the 8 at the moment. But they're not. They're down at 14th. They've got to continue to fight and see if they can actually make something of this season. But pretty impressive. I know it was only against Hawthorn, but Hawthorn still have some quality players in their Source as well. So Gold Coast, it's a step in the right direction. It's a win. It's a big win, 37 points. So they did it in front of their home crowd and can build some confidence for the rest of the year.
And this is the wins that we've been talking about Gold Coast for a couple of years, when we've all sort of seen the shining light, excuse the pun, is that those, veteran players that they've got in there, and I say veteran players at their age 24 since the young club's sort of inception, this is the one that they needed to have. It would have been good for them not to take the foot off the accelerator, send a message to everyone, build that percentage. I mean, we had Took Miller with 37 touches, Alice with 28, Lukosius with 27, Swallow with 25. Those players in those tough losses haven't been shining, and this is where they need to build that confidence, and they were fantastic against the Hawks. As you said, you still got to beat the Hawks, those lowly teams, but it was an impressive performance from the Gold Coast Suns.
It was, mate. If I could choose someone to have the ball in their hands, it might be Jack Lukosius. He's an absolute beautiful kick of the footy. I love watching him off the half back line. He kicked it into the middle, made this amazing kick. The guy was about 65 out. continued running down. That guy made the next kick inside 50. Then Lukosius got the handball, kicked it from 55. Beautiful goal. So if he can run off the back line and do that when Gold Coast are up and about, and they've got Riewoldt back, they've got their ruckman with Wits and all of that, they could actually really contend if they get a full season in. They've just got to continue to grow and continue to fight.
Continue to fight, Pez, is where we go for our next story, because the Essendon Football Club had one of their best wins in most recent history, coming back from 29 points to put on a stellar performance. They were up against the West Coast Eagles, who couldn't miss in the first half, but the continued pressure that they showed and the come from behind victory, down 29 points in that second quarter, to come back and win was really, really, it set Essendon's seasons right and hot. They're sitting in the 8 at the moment, Pez. We both had them down the bottom of the ladder, bottom 4, and we've had a lot of tweets throughout the week about the bottom 4, but are Essendon contenders with this win?
No, they're not contenders. They're still a very poor side. Not sitting in the 8 source. They're outside the 8 by 1 game, so sitting in 9th with 5 wins there, which is really surprising. But to be able to come back against the Eagles, it was a very, very good one. Last week, what was it you called? I can't remember what you called all the Essendon supporters that were having a go at you at the start of the year. You called them plebs or knobs. Knobs, I reckon it was. So I reckon they'll be in your DMs ready to absolutely bring the torches and the pitchforks out to you. It was a great win. Jake Stringer in the last quarter, he was really, really good. Cale Hooker was up and about when he nearly kicked that goal, and it was touched on the line. He wasn't too happy with the review, even though it was definitely touched. But the ball lived in the Bombers' end in that fourth quarter. I had the score on there, 29 points, as you said, and could not believe that Essendon were able to come back and get this win. It was really impressive, a good win. Now they get to stay over there for Dreamtime at Optus Stadium, and can they keep it going and actually make something of this season? I think not. I'm going to write them off. I already wrote them off anyway.
You've already wrote them off, so you're standing firm with the bottom 4 finish, Pairs. They go on a bit of a tumble from here, do they?
Oh, they're just not a good footy side at the moment. They've got some really good young players that can continue to go, but sides above them should have their way with them and things like that. I know, like Tim Kelly, he got injured with that knee injury, and it really cost West Coast in the end. They just stopped even kicking the ball forward and just wanted to try and save the game. And when you do that, especially against a running side like Essendon, off the half-back line with Heppel and Hind, they were able to take advantage of that and really pile on the scores in that fourth quarter.
Yeah, and that's definitely a factor that contributed to Essendon with their comeback. You had Oscar Allen go out in that second quarter as well with a head injury, and you had Tim Kelly with that knee injury. You know, our thoughts go out to both those players, but nothing away from Essendon. They bought the fight. They never gave up. They were still in that game early on, despite West Coast straight shooting, and it did take away when the pressure started building. West Coast just made some really, really silly mistakes, and you're right, that forward pressure that they applied, they were an unbelievable tackle count inside their 50. I wish I had the stat on me, Pez, but they were almost triple, like the inside 50 tackle count. It was incredible, and that's what you want from teams when they are down, is that fight, and Essendon definitely have shown that fight with some of those young emerging stars. Yeah,
absolutely insane. Great win for Essendon. The supporters will be up and about, and the best thing about it is their finals drought of 6,500 and something days will continue to grow into 2022. So that's awesome.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you for jumping in there and stealing all the people that are going to slide into my DMs there, Pez. That's at Peri Chicken, I think it, isn't it there, Pez?
yeah, they'll be right. Get some hot Nando sauce on there. Richmond versus Adelaide was a different type of game. Adelaide came out, kicked 6 goals in the first quarter. Richmond kind of pegged it back towards the end of that first, but 5-1 in the second quarter. Richmond really came out, had the lead at halftime, and then just ran away with it in the third as well, 6-1. So the biggest thing out of this game, Source, was the controversy we were going to have on Brownlow night with Mark of the Year between Shea Bolton and Brody Mychek. Brody Mychek won Mark of the Round when Shea Bolton obviously was a clearly better mark. I think Jack Riewoldt's got him covered, running back with the flight, getting the legs up on his opponent, and taking a beautiful mark.
Yeah, Pez, it was an incredible mark. Not your typical high-flying specky that we normally see from Jumping Jack, but it was the elevation running back with the fly of the footy and then put himself right in the firing lane for Marbold Chol, who was coming through with a big contest and a big hit and a great mark and a lot of comparison to Jonathan Brown and his cousin, actually, Nick Riewoldt's courageous mark. Be interested to hear your thoughts in that in coin toss a little bit later there, Pez.
No, you're going to bring that in coin toss, so we don't have to speak about it now.
Yep.
But we can speak about what Nick Riewoldt said. Nick Riewoldt said it was not very good, not a good mark.
Yeah, that's not. You never give props to your cousins there, Pez, let alone someone who's got a couple more premierships than the Saints. That's a low blow by me. So I'm going to keep on moving there. This game was a pinnacle of what we have known and come to love about Richmond is that when the firing lines happened, they just seemed to persevere, Pez. Like, they looked down and out in that first quarter, 6 goals piled on them. They didn't look like they were going to be able to compete with the Crows, but they just did Richmond things, and this is what we've been waiting for. And as long as Richmond stay afloat, Pez, they are going to be a real danger coming into September. Yeah,
it doesn't matter where they finish. They're always a chance. Three flags in 4 years. You write them off at your own peril. Jack Riewoldt kicked 5 goals too, took that beautiful mark, as we said. And Coleman Jones, just a couple of games he's played, kicked 4 straight and really enjoyed his day over at Giants Stadium against Adelaide Crows.
Yeah, great performances from our man Ben Keys, mate. He had 31. He's really turned himself in from a decent sort of tagger to a prolific midfielder who's winning the ball, and he just needs to use that football a little bit better, which will come with some more experience and some better cattle around him. But the Adelaide Crows, they've sort of been gallant. They've had 3 more wins than anyone expected from them this year, and they just need to be able to stay in these contests longer. And similar to what we've said about Gold Coast in the last couple of years, when it gets to that last quarter, showing that fight and really leaning on that home crowd. They've got a great home crowd there. They just need to be better with the football and look after it a bit more if they want to steal a couple of these wins.
Yeah, and they had the chance to either hold on or really compete. To lose by 28 in the end is probably disappointing, but it's probably where they're at the moment, the Adelaide Crows. Also where Carlton's at, with another loss under their belt, Sydney with a comfortable 22-point win here. Source, Harry Mackay couldn't kick a goal in that fourth quarter. He ended up with 3 goals, 5, but Cripps also had 3. Franklin had 3. Papley had 3. And our man Isaac Heaney had 3 goals, 1 as well.
Yeah, really disappointing for the Blues. They went into the last quarter down by 3, and they let the Swans pile on 3, and they just put the game to bed straight early. They had control of this game for most of it. It was sort of a topsy-turvy sort of game, but I thought watching it that they had control of the game, and they just couldn't put Sydney away, and they just couldn't put the score on the scoreboard. The Swans forward line took advantage of every opportunity that they had in that last quarter and buried the Blues. And it's really disappointing, Pez, because I think Blues supporters early on were looking at this game saying, well, this is a win for us. This should have been a win for them, in my opinion. But their season continued to slip away from them, Pez.
Yeah, they've cost themselves too much early on in the season, and with these games like that, they're sitting 13th, only 4 wins, 7 losses. You can pretty much write them off out of finals, but they're going to be competitive in the second half of this season here to be able to, steal some of those wins. They might actually get one that they're not meant to get sourced with the way they're going. And Harry Mackay up forward, who's probably going to get on a bit of coin and sign that big deal with Carlton as well. Who's the next game we head into?
And the last game of the round there, Pez, was Port Adelaide versus Fremantle. It was a bit of a non-event. Port Adelaide, the flat-track bullies that we know them to be, actually really beat down on Fremantle. They absolutely piled it on early, really displaying and bouncing back from their disappointing loss, I guess, in the last couple of weeks against top sides. And I don't know if this really changes anyone's opinion about Port Adelaide, but it's good to see them go through the routine wins and put away teams that they're meant to put away.
Yeah, they put them away early, real early, by 7 goals, 5. But Fremantle's goal kicking, they could have been actually in it. 0 goals, 7, so they could have been a lot closer. They did bring it back closer towards the second quarter, in the middle of the third, where they weren't too many points behind. But Port Adelaide, 4 goals to 1 in that last quarter, and cemented a 46-point win. Comfortable win, which they need to do because they've cost themselves in a few games, Port Adelaide, this year so far.
Yeah, they have, Pez, and And this is what we talk about with those sides, you know, that are going to make up the 8. It's the routine wins. It's a good little percentage booster. It's a good little confidence booster for some of those stars in Port Adelaide that haven't performed against some of those the teams that you would expect them to be. You know, I don't know if it sort of changes anyone's opinion, as I said about them, but again, it's a routine win. It's 46 points. It's a big win against a team that, you know, are definitely going to give some teams in that top 8 a little bit of struggle with how defensive they can be.
Yeah, I think Port Adelaide will, you know, be able to compete and possibly win a final or two in September. But speaking about Fremantle, they were missing Taberner on the weekend. He should come back in this week. Fife was their leading goal kicker with 2 goals, but Rory Lobb, ever since he's come back in, he's presenting well, he's getting shots on goal, but he is struggling in front of the sticks as well. He kicked 1 goal too, and that's the same thing week after week. If he kicks some of those goals, he has set shots at really important times and can take a good grab. He really needs to step up his game if Fremantle are going to get a few more wins for the end of the year.
Yeah, I heard he reached out to Matthew Lloyd to get a little bit of helping hand there, Pez. So expect a much improved performance from him when he returns from the bye. Actually, no, they're playing this week, so you can pencil him in for 4 goals there, Pez, in your bet slip. He's spoken to Matthew
well,
Lloyd.
He might have done that. But speaking about bet slips, I wonder who you're going to reach out to because as we know on Twitter Source, we are heading into a big donut.
Yes.
Soft review. It's no official review. How does it end? We don't know. They've kind of lost, but they've won as well.
Yeah, that intro instills no confidence in me, Pez, because what have they done? I've done absolutely nothing, and they win some, they lose some, but not every week, Pez. And while most betting shows and most betting punters and people on Twitter might go into hiding, put in their, put their Twitter account on hold while they might not talk about the losses, I'm going to have to sit here, Pez, while I'm sure you give me plenty of stick and talk about every one of my poor bets from last week, Pez. Let's get into our bet review.
Oh, we will, Source. And I reckon when we get to the Saturday game, you're going to have a bit of stick for the media manager for calling you out for a donut. But we'll talk through and we'll see how we go. The first game was the Western Bulldogs versus Melbourne. Now, I thought it would be higher scoring because the Bulldogs play fast, and it was in the first half, not in the second. Cozzy Pickett to score 2 or more goals, couldn't do that. Waitman to score 2 or more goals, couldn't do that. So I ended up with a bonus for my 10. Oh, I didn't end up with a bonus. It was a bonus, and I lost that one, Source.
Yeah, I thought the Doggies were going to perform a little bit better than they did. I should have actually jumped on Melbourne in that one, but Clayton Oliver to kick a goal, he didn't do that. Petrarca had a couple, so he kicked a goal there, but 2 out of the 3 lost, so that's a 0, one of many for me for that round.
Yeah, not great at all. The next game was the Collingwood Geelong. I was really disappointed in this one because Jeremy Cameron, I thought, could have kicked. He kicked a really tough goal in the second quarter. I thought he could have kicked a few more. So I had him anytime goal scorer, 2 or more goals, which he ended up getting. But I had him for most goals as well, which he could have very easily done if he just capitalised on those set shots earlier. But it wasn't a day for goal kicking at the MCG there.
Yeah, definitely not. You backed the wrong forward there, Pez, because Hawkins had 3, so you should just pick the wrong horse in that one. I definitely picked the wrong horse. I escaped with a bonus bet in this one, but I had Tommy Stewart for 20. He does that routinely. Joel Selwood for 25. He got that. He led the way with 26 for them. But I thought Sam Mangala would have had some more run in that midfield. I was pretty happy with the bet for 25, but he could only get 17 with Sparkle and Tui taking most of the chocolates, but Parfitt was outstanding, had 30, so disappointing for me, and another loss. But Pez, it's a bonus bet, so I'll make that back this week.
Yeah, we say that every week. That's awesome. Brisbane versus Giants. Looked like you didn't have a bet, Source. I had Brisbane 1-39 for the win. Couldn't quite get it. Zach Bailey got 15 pretty easily, but Tom Green got kept quiet by Brisbane as well in the big loss. So 2 legs losing, no bonus bet there. We move on to St Kilda versus North Melbourne. I'll just continue to go, Source, because you didn't have a bet here.
No, I jumped on the better result than when I actually had a bet, wasn't it?
Yeah, I jumped on the live bet, Source. I was super confident in this one. Saints were up by 43 points at one stage, and it was looking really, really good. And the backdoor cover from North Melbourne with the last 3 goals, and ended up losing by 20. So didn't get the win. Max bet as well. So that one hurt for my bet slip this week.
Yeah, speaking of hurt, Pez, I was really, really, really hurt with my cheeky and pretty disappointed. We talked about the Gold Coast Suns putting teams away, and I was looking just to save my round would have been just in this bet right here. I would have escaped with a nice little $20 profit and not been blown away off the island like you've got your little emoji there with the tidal wave coming in. I had Ben King to score 4 goals. That was easily done. Brendan Ellis to get 20, as we said earlier. He had 27, but Gold Coast by 40 points. I was looking really, really good in that last quarter, and then they let the Hawks back in. They did not cover the 40 plus, so I lost my bonus bet, which would have been absolute money for jam, Pez, but no bonus bet in there, no cheeky, and another big donut for me.
That was actually unbelievable for me, Sauce, because I was keeping an eye on that game, and I didn't watch the end of it because I thought Gold Coast had it covered. Mm-hmm. I thought they had it covered 40 plus. I saw Ben King kick his 4th. And then I switched it over, didn't check the scores again until Sunday, Sauce. And guess what happened? I thought it was going to be a tick. It was a cross. And then I just wanted to cross the rest of your bets, which will happen when we see the next game coming up on the Saturday. West Coast versus Essendon is the next one, Sauce. I had Flying Ryan to score 2 goals in West Coast head-to-head. I thought Flying Ryan, you know what? He's going to kick a goal in the last quarter. They're going to continue and get the win. But he didn't kick his second goal. West Coast didn't get the win. So used that bonus bet and didn't get any money back from the week before. Yeah,
well, Pez, while I was putting more interest into the Gold Coast game, and I actually turned off the West Coast game because thinking that I was already sort of counting the dollar bills there, Pez, because I had Gold Coast with my maximum bet at minus 26.5 when they were up by 29 points. I thought, you little ripper, I'll get my round back on track after a very poor start, but Essendon have absolutely bent me over there in that one, and cost me another one, Pez, so another 0, a very disappointing maximum loss, and that's twice they've screwed me over because earlier in the year I had Essendon to win, and when they were up by 30-something points and they let Hawthorn get up, I had the maximum on that. So back-to-back maximums, screw Essendon, they're terrible.
We'll see if you go on them in the bet slip over the next 3 bye rounds. In the next game, Sauce, I had no bet, but interesting looking at Twitter here, there's not a tick or a cross on this next game.
No, there's not. Why
what would you bet?
Why have you let me there, Pez? I had minus 21.5.
You know what I noticed that at the start?
Minus 21.5, you little ripper. Got to win there, Pez. I don't need this media manager needs the sack. Absolutely saved. Get rid of that donut, Pez, and that actually doesn't put me down as a negative for that round. Minus 1.2. I'm still on the island, Pez, and I'm moving up to that top floor, Pez. You need to issue an apology right now.
Mate,
issue that apology.
I cannot believe, I'm guessing you thought you had a really poor round, so you didn't even check it, and you're just like, oh, this is horrible.
Nope. I knew it, Pez. I was waiting to see if you actually admitted to your mistake, and I'm glad that you admitted it before me because I was about to get right into you just then.
I don't think you were. I don't think you knew. I think you're very happy now.
I'm not, Pez. I knew all about it, mate. All about it.
But I've given you the donut emoji. Actually, the media manager's given you the donut emoji on Twitter. They've given you the waves because they said you're in the ocean.
No, that's more of it's a Mexican wave. That's what it is. It's the Mexican wave, Pez, because I'm all around it. Everyone's there on the island. We're doing the Mexican wave because we've stayed afloat, and I haven't let the punters down, Pez.
Yeah, you haven't. We still come away with a loss for the round, but that 47.50 really helps you stay on that beach. So glad for you. Glad for me missing that. You know why I missed it? Because when I put that red cross on Gold Coast, I was like, that is unbelievable. That is the worst beat I've seen in a long time.
Well, you said it before, Pez. You said that's what you said before. You said as soon as that Gold Coast loss happened, you just crossed out the rest of the round. So it's just poor form on you, Pez. Never count your chickens. And if Essendon was anything like you, I would have won my bet the last game. So don't count the chickens before they hatch, Pez. Great win for me. What did you do in that round, Pez? What did you do in that game there? Yeah. Oh, you had no bet, you soft cock. Right, let's get on to the next one there. We get on to the Sydney versus Carlton game. I'll let you go with it first, Pez. Go for it.
My one here, a little bit nervous at a stage. I had a $20 bonus bet on this from the week before. Chad wanted to get 15 disposals, did that pretty early. Tom Papley to get 2 or more goals. Now, he kicked that goal late in that fourth quarter to get this bet over the line to secure me my first win for the round and to secure me that $32.
Yeah, well, mine was a bit disappointing, Pez. I had Luke Parker to get 25. He only could manage 23. In that last quarter, Pez, he seriously picked up the ball 3 or 4 times and got tackled. I think he had 2 holding the balls in the last quarter. That would have been my 25 there. But that was the one of the legs that missed. Jordan Dawson, who seems to routinely get 20 every week, he just scraped through. And then I had Ollie Florent to get 20, and he did that as well. So I escaped with a bonus bet, Pez, but I was still riding high from the Richmond win, so I didn't even really care about that one.
Now, Source, I'm going to be honest here. Your round 11 bet slip, the first two bets were no good because they missed out by a lot. But the Gold Coast, one goal.
What do you mean the first two bets?
Eagles,
hang on a tick. What do you mean the first two bets were everything?
My first bet
was terrible. The second bet I missed by 8 possessions. All right, so that's not that bad. Well, that's 8. That's about what Collingwood kicked in the first half of football. So that's all I missed out on.
To get 8 possessions. We'll just play an extra 2 quarters. We'll play 6 quarters of footy, will we? And then you'll be really close. I'm trying to give you a compliment here. The Suns bet could have got up. The West Coast goes another way with injury, could have gone either way. But the Sydney one, I reckon you're very stiff there with Luke Parker on 23 disposals. So, I'm not sure about that. But Sydney, I had that win, so that was good. Port Adelaide versus Fremantle. Now, this is where I stake the max pre-round Source. And, when I stake the max, I'm usually pretty confident. Fremantle gave me a bit of a scare coming back when Port Adelaide slowed down after being up by 40-something points in that first quarter. Minus 25.5, head-to-head halftime leader. Doubled my money at $2 there, and boy, didn't I need it.
Yeah, Pez. Well, I steered clear, as you sort of mentioned there. We get into our Source multi, and I missed out on the Bulldogs plus 14.5. They did not show up to that game. All other ticks because I had Geelong won, for the win, Brisbane minus 15.5, and Sydney 22.5. Really disappointing that Western Bulldogs didn't show up. But you know what? I sort of called that at the start of the season. I don't know why I backed them. Yeah,
you backed them against Melbourne. I don't know. We're probably two sides that no one really wants to trust in Bulldogs and Melbourne, and we saw what happened on Friday night. Now, this one is where I had another max stake Source, and I was not very happy with this one because I had Geelong to win, Saints to win, Port Adelaide to win, all very easy. I have West Coast plus 6.5. So I'm sitting there going, all right, I know Port Adelaide's going to win tomorrow against Fremantle, so this is awesome. West Coast to 29 up. They're not. If they lose, Essendon are going to win by what? A goal? Yep. They ended up winning by 16, lost the max 50, had a negative round after that. So if I was able to get that, like you were able to get your Gold Coast, we would have been flying here for the cheeky. But unfortunately, we weren't. I staked 200, returned 132. Gave me an ROI of minus 34% Source. We go for the total for the season in 11 rounds. I've staked $2,140, returned $2,478.20 for a return on investment of 15.8%. So below the 20% where I don't get the flyer, but I've still got the little hotel emoji there.
Now, Pez, I would read out my bet slip normally and my return here, but I'm going to pass it over to you, Pez, because I think that should be a punishment for giving me the unworthy donut emoji, which I do not like that at all. So I know that I staked 125. What did I return there, Pez? Can you tell me what I returned?
Yeah. You returned $47.50 because that was actually a tick, that bet.
It was.
So the media manager missed it. Bad luck. They're sacked. We'll get a new one. An ROI, not minus 100% Source like it says on Twitter, minus 62%, which is a lot better.
I don't know anyone that's happier with a return of minus 62% than the way I'm treating this, Pez. It's like I've won $700. But continue telling me how well I did.
Well, for the year, it actually is a lot better off for you because you've staked $1,875, returned $1,899.74 for an ROI of 1.31%. In the positive, not out into the ocean. You're still on the beach.
Yeah, that wave that you've got there, Pez, is just, when you go to the cricket and there's that first round of the Mexican wave, that lonely bloke on the island tries to do the Mexican wave and it doesn't get round the first time. That's what it is, that one. It's that little first pre-wave, the entree wave for this week, which is going to be a full-blown hats in the air, beers in the air, Mexican wave, because, Pez, I love my bet slip this week.
Well, that's absolutely awesome.
It is awesome, just like this intro, Pez.
The fact that the size of the bets was relatively small.
Now Betts with an opportunity about 50 metres out.
I was with a mate and we were getting sort of ready to leave, and he said, I think I'm going to whack 10 on Maxi. Do you want some as well? And I said,
Oh, yes! Yes!
And Pez, I actually got a message this week from one of our fellow listeners who is making a bid for your job as the media manager. Anyway, sent me a message early in the week before you sent me the message during the week about the specials, and he was already on to them. So I hope you've covered them. Otherwise, Finster is going to have a nasty word with you, Pez. So let's see if you can beat Finster with the specials.
Cyril takes a special and goes bang.
Wow, Finster, that'd be absolutely awesome if you could take
the specials off me because, without alternate accounts, I can't even use most of the special sauce.
Yeah, well, let's see if you can at least give our viewers their second favourite segment of the show besides my bet slip. Pez, let's get into the specials. Come on.
Well, sports bet, if your team kick a goal in the first 2 minutes, you win on the Friday night game this week. So Melbourne versus Brisbane. We know we don't like that here on Behind the Boundary. They've got the head-to-head 3+ leg AFL multi. 1 leg fails, you get your special back. And disappointing source, but I've just realised this now. So, Finster, you can have the job because Sportsbet, they do not have the 3+ leg same game multi, all matches up to 3 refunds per round. And I've put 3 of my bets on my bet slip, on my alternate account, thinking that I would actually have that special. So that's not there. So stuff you there, Sportsbet. I was going to say PointsBet, but stuff them as well.
Yeah, stuff them as well.
Tab, we've got 3+ leg same game multi if you need to get your special and a bit of insurance. You've got Friday night Melbourne versus Brisbane. You've got Saturday Essendon versus Richmond. You've got the 3+ leg and 1 fails on head-to-head multis as well, so that you got to tip half the round with only 6 games there, Source. Lads, they have AFL $2 lines for Melbourne versus Brisbane. Probably bring some more stuff out later in the week. And at Ned's, they've got the same game multi 3+ legs for Melbourne versus Brisbane. Now, PointsBet, I do have to mention Source. I don't really like this bet. Who do you think will win out of Melbourne and Brisbane, just out of curiosity?
I think the Lions probably get the chocolates.
Yep, so you think the Lions. I think the Lions as well, who are actually underdogs earlier today on Sportsbet. But PointsBet have this source, and you wouldn't have seen it yet. I'll give you $3 for Melbourne to win by 1 to 100 and Christian Petrarca to kick 1+ goal. If you multi that up in Sportsbet, it gives you $2.60. So it's not a massive boost over on PointsBet. And they've just been, giving people some definite wins, making it a little bit harder week by week. And now they're going, we think Brisbane are going to win. So we'll get everyone to jump on this $3 for Melbourne when they're hot.
Yeah, interesting technique by them. But if you wanted to do some more value, you can take that $2.60, add another leg in and go across to Tab, and then you get a little bit of insurance for it too. Put in a little, Bailey to get 15, you love and life because he does that routinely, and that'll probably get you $3 there and you have a little bit of insurance.
That's right. If one of those do fail, then you're gone. But actually change from Melbourne to Brisbane probably puts you up to $3 anyway if they're underdogs. So,
yeah, well, they've come into favourites now, Piz. They've come into favourites now.
Oh, come into favourites already, have they? So there you go. As we started recording the podcast, they weren't. So that's really interesting as well. There's the specials. I'm really glad that Finster's going to take that one over. Thank you very much.
Yeah, he has a little bit more confidence than you do, Pez, in it. So, I know, wouldn't have muddled his way through it. But let's get into the Friday night game, as you just sort of alluded to. We've got an amazing clash. 2 of the top 2 teams, very informed teams, both coming off some very impressive victories. Melbourne take on the Brisbane Lions. As you said, Brisbane were the outsiders in this one, but are now firmed as favourites. $1.87 with the inclusion of Lachie Neale in that to help boost their odds. $1.97 for the outsiders in Melbourne. The line is 0.05, which is it's a horrible line. So it's basically a pick'em game, but you can get $1.90 on that one. So if you think one of those teams is actually going to win, you better value at the moment going for the minus 0.05 because all they have to do is win for Brisbane and you get an extra 3 cents.
Yeah, well, there you go. You're not going to win if it's a draw anyway when they're $1.87, as you said. But they were $2 just before we recorded the pod source. So teams have come out and people have jumped all over Brisbane, putting him into 187 at the moment. Ed Langdon is out injured for Melbourne, who I think is a big loss because he's been playing well on the wing. Lester and Neale come in for Brisbane, and I think that's where the money's come for Lachie Neale coming back in the side. James Madden and Reece Matheson omitted, as we said. I think Brisbane win this. It's not at the MCG. It's actually at Giants Stadium, somewhere in the middle of the two. Melbourne don't get their home game, so they don't get the ticket sales, and they miss out on a bit of money. But Brisbane, just in form, you can't tip against them. I think they're going to win. Their forward line is really dynamic. And the start of the year, they struggled a little bit, but now they've been at home for a fair while now, and they're really ticking along nicely to finish top 4. So I've done a 3-leg same-game multi thinking that I had insurance on this source. So I would have had Brisbane head-to-head at $2, but I've actually got Brisbane head-to-head. I'll put McCluggage for 20 and Rich for 20. I'll put the max 50 on it, paying $2.30.
And if that misses out by one leg, I'm going to be real dirty on Sportsbet.
Yeah, be dirty on yourself, Pez, for not doing your job and actually paying attention with the specials. But don't blame Sportsbet for your errors there. I agree, Pez. I think that the Lions get it done. I think very interesting what you said there is the Lions started off not so impressive. Over the last 7 games, they've been incredibly good. Those first 3 games that they really struggled with, they've definitely bounced around form. Whereas Melbourne have been the other way. Their first 4 or 5 games have been super impressive. And they've sort of been a little bit not as dominating as they have been. They had a really great win last week against the Bulldogs, but the week before against the Adelaide Crows, I think they were looking ahead, and they have been a little bit sluggish. So my money's with Brisbane here. I've done the exact same thing as you, Pez. I've taken the max 50, jumped on earlier in the day, and I'm very happy when I saw the inclusion of Lachie Neale. $2.04 I got that, so I've put the max stay on it. I hope they kick one in the opening minute or so. So my bet's done and dusted, and I don't have to worry about it. I can sit back and laugh at you when yours fails.
Mate, I would have had the first 2-minute special, which I don't really like, but extra insurance for the first 2 minutes anyway. You got to take it if you're going to bet on it anyway. So, spewing, I missed out there, but hopefully that still gets up. And we move on to St Kilda versus Sydney. Was meant to be St Kilda's home game. It's now Sydney's home game at SCG.
Yeah, and that definitely is how the odds and the bookmakers have seen it. They've swung to favouritism towards Sydney at $1.33. St Kilda outsiders at $3.34. The line, incredibly, is out to -20.5, which is a really juicy line. I think some people will definitely dabble in. Over and under is 165.5. Pez. Are you sticking with your Saints and backing them in to get the job done?
No, not at all. Without Royal Marshall, he's still not in the side. They're really struggling with the one ruckman because they've got the good duo there when they're together. I don't have a bet in this one because I do want to barrack for the Saints on the day and try and see if our forwards can kick a goal. If I was to put a bet on here, Source, I think Sydney are going to win this comfortably, 4 or 5 goals. Franklin is a ridiculous $1.14 for 2 goals, so I wouldn't touch that. But Tommy Papley, who's done it a few times this year, $1.67. And then Isaac Heaney, who kicked 3 last week as well, $1.72. So I'd be going one of them, maybe multi it with the Sydney to win and try and get somewhere around the $1.80, $1.90 mark. And that's where I'd go, but I'm not going there.
I definitely like your thinking, Pez, and that's exactly what I was thinking when I was making my...
Cheeky!
I thought exactly all the comments you just said there, Pez, is going to come true. Sydney to do this pretty easily. I've got him at 40+. Same game multied up with Papley, not just to kick 2 pairs, he kicks 3 for this one. I think that brings out the odds to $2.10 or something with him to kick 3. And then Jordan Dawson, as I said, routinely gets 20. He was a little bit of a heart stopper last week trying to get to that 20 mark, but he'll do that in an easy win for the Swans. I've put my bonus bet of $25 on that from last week, so I've broken the rules of the cheeky at $10 odds. Gives me potential winnings of $225 pairs, and that will be money for everybody.
Yeah, is that the money for VBs?
No, it's not a money for VBs, Pez. I've saved that for another one.
Save that for another one. Lucky Dill, just clarifying that for Dill there. 3 or more goals, Papley. There you go. You think he's going to be the one to go off. You don't know who's going to go off.
That's the dangerous thing about Sydney is you don't know who's going to go off. But I like the way that he sort of fires up. And I know that when they are winning big, he does like the little bit of chatter. He does like getting around people. And I think he'll be one of those people that makes the big call for Sydney and get that big win.
If you don't watch much of Sydney, watch them when Tom Papley kicks a goal and get around him. He loves a goal and he loves a little celebration as well, doesn't he?
Mate, he loves a goal and he loves when they're winning big. He's all about the finger celebration. He does the fist bumps. One of the best celebrations from last year is when he jumped over someone. He actually runs in and jumps over them completely. Gives it to the crowd. You got to love Tommy Papley. Speaking of loving games, Pez, I don't know who to tip in this one. I do not love the odds in this one. Adelaide versus Collingwood, $1.49 for the Crows, who have been very lacklustre with the last couple of weeks, only stringing to cross those 3 in the last, 25 games or something like that. Come up against Collingwood, who were gallant in the end against Geelong, but as we said, it was a pretty routine run through for Geelong. They get $2.63. The line is -13.5, over under 157.5.
Look, it's a big game, Adelaide versus Collingwood. At the start of the year, if you were to tip this and what the line would be, you'd probably say Collingwood's favour -19.5 before the start of the season. It's in the favour of Adelaide, -13.5. Brodie Grundy goes out injured, which is a big loss for Collingwood. They do get Jamie Elliott back after being injured in round 2, I think, against Carlton. But they are struggling on their list at the moment. No Taylor Adams still from the other week. So their midfield might struggle a little bit. If Adelaide's midfield can get on top, they might get the win, but there's no way I'm putting my money towards this game.
Yeah, Pez, I don't know who's going to win this game, but I think it's going to be close. I like the line of 13.5. I think Collingwood have to make a stand here. This is, they were impressive last week in a routine loss, and I think they'll take a lot away from it. No, Ruckman really hurts them, but they're not coming up against a dominant Ruckman anyway. So I've gone $25, 13.5 at the Collingwood line, Pez.
All right, best of luck with there. You'll be going for the Pies on Saturday.
That's correct. We get over to Dream Time at SBS Stadium, Pez, and it's SBS are loving the rights to this game. Essendon are playing Richmond, $2.49 for their Bombers after their impressive win. I guess this is sort of their home game after their win last week, back-to-back weeks at SBS Stadium. Richmond come in as the favourites, $1.54. The line is minus 11.5 in favour of the Tigs, and the over-under is 172.5.
Mate, the amount of excitement from Essendon supporters for last week. Move your club over to Western Australia and have your home stadium at Optus. That's absolutely ridiculous. But, yeah, I like what you said. It looks like Essendon's home game, but Richmond have to come over and do this. I do like that they've got Prestia back with another week of footy. Dustin Martin's still hanging around. Jack Riewoldt up forward. Don't have Tom Lynch. But Essendon's defence, I don't think, stands up anyway, especially against Richmond's game style. So Essendon will try and run it out. If Richmond can bring that ferocious pressure that they're known for, Essendon could be in a bit of trouble here. So Francis comes in, Snelling goes out, and Zerk Thatcher went out last week with an injury as well. So they get Shane Edwards back in, who's a really important player for them. Marlon Pickett comes in to replace Toby Nankervis in the ruck, who goes out injured. And Daniel Rioli, who was a medical sub last week, doesn't get a go as well. But what I've gone here, I think Richmond get this done. Richmond minus 11.5. I've put the 3-leg same-game multi against Source on Sportsbet, so I have to hope they all get up. Dyson Heppel to collect 20 on the half-back line. He should do that pretty comfortably. And Jaden Short at $1.30. I went for a bit of value there to collect his 20 disposals on the Richmond half-back line.
Yeah, good luck with that one, Pez. It's going to be tough trying to get all three of those legs with no sports bet special. Just so
I didn't say, but $2.87 that one Source, and I've put the max on that as well.
This is the week you've gone like 3 maxes on the no insurance, Pez. What a week to steer clear for Pez. I've steered clear with this game, Pez. I looked through this one trying to find some value. I thought there might be some value in the disposals or goal kicker markets, but there's just no value in the players to get 30 disposals or 2 goals. So I'm steering clear. Maybe I might have a dabble later on with the over-under. I like that over market. It'll depend on what the weather is going to be, but steer clear for Source on this one, Pez. Into the Sunday game, we have Carlton versus West Coast, and you've been talking about buyer's remorse with your same game multi-special, Pez. I've definitely got it in this one. We've got Carlton at $1.58 as the favourites. West Coast $2.39 after an abundance of injuries and outs, and I'm not looking forward to trying to talk my way through this bet, Pez. The line is 10.5. The over-under is 171.5. And the reason that I'm a little bit disappointed, Pez, is I put my bonus bet on West Coast for this game before actually seeing the lineups. And what are the big outs and ins for this game?
Oh, mate, the teams are coming out on Thursdays now. You've got to get used to it, so don't throw your money there. Don't throw it away there. But I think West Coast may be still able to win. I don't know. We've got Michael Gibbons out injured. We've got the extended bench, so Paddy Dow, Zach Fisher, Jack Nunes and Luke Parks out of them to come in. There might be a few more outs as well. But the big news is at West Coast. Archie injured out. Oscar Allen injured out. Brander, who's been playing really well down back, injured out. Tim Kelly, their biggest engine worker in there, injured out. And Josh Kennedy, injured out. Replacements, you've got probably Nathan Vardy, Zach Langdon, who are probably notables. You've got a debutant there and not many other names that many people would know. So Carlton, heavy favourites, but without those players in the forward line, no Oscar Allen, no Josh Kennedy. You know where I'm going, Sauce? I've gone a bonus bet, and I've just gone Jack Darling to kick the most goals in the match. So West Coast can still lose, and he can kick 3 or 4. It gets me $3.75. I put my $25 bonus bet on it to try and return $68.75.
Yeah, that's a lot better money spent than my bonus bet, Pez. As mentioned, went with the Eagles. Silly before the teams were announced. Not really doing my research on that one. And I'll wear the loss for that one, Pez. You can mark that one as a red cross to begin with, but that's what most Carlton supporters will be hoping, because this is still a bit of a danger game for Carlton, who haven't been able to get the chocolates against teams that they should be beating. This is the definite win for them. They should get the win, and I'm hoping that Carlton do Carlton things, and I can sneak away with a little cheeky win there.
Yeah, best of luck. That's what we get when we put them on beforehand and don't do our due diligence for the team. We didn't think West Coast would have that many outs, but there you go. We get into the final game of the round and the sixth game of the round, Fremantle versus the Bulldogs.
Yeah, this is a really interesting one here, Pez. The Dogs obviously going as favourites at $1.39. Fremantle at home are heavy outsiders at $3.01. The line is 17.5 in favour of the Dogs. Over-under is 166.5. I'm really interested to hear your thoughts on this one, Pez. That line, I think, is really, really low for a Bulldogs team that is firing.
Yeah, it's 17.5. I think they should come out, especially after a loss last week, against Melbourne. They need to prove something. They'll get Stephen Martin back in, so that'll do them well in the midfield. And Fremantle will get Matty Taberner back as well, so that'll do them well up forward. So really interesting one, especially because Fremantle are at home, and we know they're a 4 or 5 goal better side when they're at home rather than travelling. What I've gone here is I've gone my cheeky sauce, and I can't press the button.
Cheeky!
There we go. I've gone the game to be over 166 points, so 166.5. I think that the Bulldogs like to run and score at the big ground over there at Optus. Aaron Norton to score 2 or more goals. He's only not done that one match, which was last week against Melbourne. This is the real cheeky part of it. The halftime margin to be between 25 and 36 points in the Bulldogs' favour. It gets me $14.50 all up. I've put the cheeky 10 on that.
That is a bit cheeky there, Pez. I like what you said about the over and under being over 166.5. The Bulldogs definitely overpossess the ball. They lead the league inside 50s and efficiency inside their 50 as well at the moment. I'm steering clear for this one, but if I was going for a bet, I'd be looking probably the minus 17.5 and the over-under, total being over, obviously, the 166.5, Pez. Let's move on to our multis.
Yeah, well, we've got to look at our multis. And before we do that, just the buys. North, won't those fans have a really great weekend, even if they're in lockdown?
Now I realise why you're piling on Essendon is because North haven't had to talk about them. You've been piling on Essendon. They're the new North this week. So apologies to Essendon supporters, North Melbourne supporters. Enjoy the week off. And if you listen to one of these classics back and forth, just know that Pez has had a week off from Potton North.
Well, they're all right. They're having a bye. They're not going to lose by 60.
I'm going to grab that soundboard. North are all right. I'm going to grab that one for you.
Yeah, good one. My multi here, a little bit different. I haven't gone the pluses and minuses. There's not enough games source. So I've just chosen 3 games head-to-head. I've gone Brisbane to beat Melbourne. I've gone Richmond to beat Essendon. And I've gone the Bulldogs to beat Fremantle. Put 25 on it at boosted odds of $4.27.
Is that with Sportsbet?
No, with lads. I didn't go with the insurance.
You didn't go with the insurance. You just decided no insurance at all.
No access to my alternate account at the moment.
Oh,
I only had it earlier today, where I did the other multis, which don't have any insurance anyway. So I don't know.
No insurance anyway. So that's a bit disappointing for you, Pez. But not disappointing for me, Pez. I've gone with Sportsbet's 3-leg same-game multi. Just picked 3 teams. I like the odds this week for 3 of the teams to win. All they need to do is win. 1 leg fails, I get my money back in a bonus bet. I've gone Brisbane, Sydney head-to-head, and Western Bulldogs. That gives me odds of 345. I've whacked 25 on that, Pez. I really like that one, and that is your lock, your money for VBs, Pez.
Yeah, the multi.
The multi.
The money for VBs is the multi. There you go. Well, what are you at the moment? 6 out of 11.
Count that one, Pez. Work that in there. You might as well pencil that one in there. You're very quick to put the red crosses in, Pez. Put a green tick that one right there for already. You might as well
what I might do? I might just, while I've still got control of this media stuff, just give you a cross for every one of your bets this week and post up another donut.
There's no need for that, Pez. You need to send a formal apology and a retraction for my last donut. I did. It is meant to be International Donut Day tomorrow, but I don't want. I'd like a retraction for you tomorrow for International Donut Day.
No, well, best of luck getting that while I'm in lockdown. Yeah. See how you go with that.
Yeah, right, Pez. We better wrap this up, Pez. Let's finish off things with our coin toss.
It was a toss of the coin.
That 5 wins the toss.
Yes, it's been an unusual year for coin tosses.
Drives it beautifully. Ranger, big time again.
Two sides of the coin, Pez, and only one choice that we are allowed. No explanations, no rubbish, just straight out on the lines. Who is going to win? Melbourne versus Brisbane. This is a pick'em.
Brisbane.
Yep, I'm with Brisbane as well. Sydney versus St Kilda. The line is minus 20.5.
I'll go Sydney in this one.
I'm with Sydney, obviously having them to win by 40 plus. Adelaide versus Collingwood. The line is minus 13.5.
Well, I have to. Jamie Elliott in the side. I'm going Collingwood.
Yep, so you're sticking with me. Carlton versus West Coast, minus 10.5. I don't know where this one's going to go, Pez.
What's the line? 10.5?
10.5.
That's horrible. West Coast.
I have to go West Coast. I've tipped them for the bonus bet in that one, so I've got to go to West Coast. And Fremantle versus the Dogs, minus 17.5.
I'll go the Bulldogs.
And that's who I've gone, Pez. So you can't...
Save the best game to last, during time at the G.
Yes, the last game is the Essendon versus Richmond, minus 11.5 in favour of the Tiggies.
Richmond, I've got that in my bet for my max bet.
Minus 11.5 sounds good for me, Pez. That means you can't catch me this week. Still leading the leaderboard, Pez. We went exactly the same there. What am I beating you by?
You're beating me by 3 now. You got another one up last week. You got the Brisbane Lions when I had GWS at a 29.5. Very disappointing there. But you got 5, I got 4 last week. So we roll on, and you'll be up by 3 after this round as well.
Up by 3, and while I've got you, Pez, a little bit of a coin toss just in the AFL scene. I sort of broke this spoiler earlier. Jack or Riewoldt, or Nick Riewoldt, better, more courageous mark?
Nick.
You bias, mother. No, you can't be saying that, mate. Of course it's Nick. Of course it's Nick Riewoldt.
Get around him. He was running into it. It was a chest mark as well, actually, Nick Riewoldt.
Jack's is pretty impressive, though, him actually elevating to that second level. So he takes the first hit and he's able to elevate him there coming into oncoming traffic, a little bit higher in the air. But the hit wasn't as hard.
Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't either. So, I don't have a coin toss for you this week, Sauce, because... we're in lockdown and stuff. I don't even know what my excuse is, but
lockdown or no lockdown, Pez?
We'll go with lockdown.
Oh well, that's controversial. You sound like the government there as well, Pez. All right, Pez, let's wrap things up and see how can people get a hold of us and tell us how terribly your performance was this week in not recognising any of the specials.
I recognise all the specials, but at Behind the Bound on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, get around them and. Wherever you listen to, if it's Apple Podcasts or Spotify, make sure you jump on and give a 5-star review. I've been Pez. Peace out.
I'm still Sauce. We'll catch up next time, guys.